Okay. We're going to start this up again. Sorry to interrupt everyone's conversations. Do come and have a seat back around the table. If you don't know what this is Talkaoke. It's
You've changed the shirt.
I've changed my shirt. Yes. Yeah. This is my well. The whole point of Talkaoke is it's up to you to decide what you want to talk about. It's not up to me. I'm a blank slate. I don't have anything to talk about. That's why I do this job. Because I don't have anything to talk about myself.
It's a tough crowd.
It's a tough crowd, but you know that's the world that I live in. Welcome to my world. My name is Mikey. Let's find out who we've got around the table. What's your name?
Hi, Mikey. I'm George.
George, welcome. And
Denisa.
And what's your name?
Fritz.
Alessia, welcome. Kira. And if anyone else wants to come and join in the conversation, you're very welcome to. Or if you don't want to join in the conversation, we at least need a subject because we don't have a subject to get this going with. Earlier on we heard someone just drone on about money and what's the point of money? Oh yeah, you've got a subject?
Holidays!
Yeah.
Something more positive, come on. We talk about problems.
Yeah.
Nowadays problems, no one can solve them, none of us, unfortunately. But it's good.
Yeah.
We can talk about holidays.
Okay. So
what's your next holiday this year?
It's not really down to me, but let's find out what people have got in mind, either as a holiday that they are going to go on,
You tell us.
or they want to.
You tell us in the middle. What's your next holiday?
I may go to South Africa in a couple of months' time. Let's go. What about? Hang on. Let's go around the table with this. Come and get involved in this as well. Have you got any holiday plans?
Against Mike, but yeah, actually, sorry.
You must tell us about your holiday.
Because I'm gonna. But so my all-time destination that I've always wanted to go to, that I'm finally taking myself on this year, is to New Orleans. So I absolutely love blues music. So that's like my favourite form of music, and obviously New Orleans is the one of the soul of blues and jazz and Creole cuisine. So yes, I'm going there in October for a week. So I've booked my flights and
So New Orleans, capital of blues. Alessia, any holiday plans?
I don't have any holidays planned up, sadly. No, sorry.
I mean, where would you like to go?
That's difficult questions.
If you could go anywhere, where would you?
It is. I'm not sure. Sorry, I need to get warmed up.
Okay, well, I'll come back to you. Let's get some other suggestions. Let's get some other suggestions and find out. What about you, Fritz? Where would you like to go?
At the end of this month, I'm going to Kiev.
Oh yeah? Kiev?
Yeah.
Have you been there before?
No, I haven't been there before.
Okay, why Kiev?
There's an old Tetra Pak factory that I want to have a look at.
A what factory?
A Tetra Pak factory.
What's a Tetra Pak factory?
They used to make juice boxes, I think.
Okay, and they've stopped making juice boxes?
This one has.
Okay, so what does it do now?
There's going to be some music happening there.
Okay. So you're looking forward to going on holiday to a closed down juice box factory in Kiev?
Fucking hell, man.
Okay. Yeah, what's the name of the festival? Just
it's called
Wow, it's so cool he can't even remember the name of the festival. He's just going there. Okay, I'll come back to you in a second. All right, so we've got New Orleans, we've got Fritz is going to a former Tetra Pak, that's a kind of juice box factory in Kiev, to go to some kind of music festival. I guess it's going to be industrial techno down there. You off? Give us a final thought.
Thank you very much. Great evening.
Can I just ask, before you go, is there anything that's stuck in your mind, any thoughts that you're going to go away with on your way back to Bromley?
Wouldn't be great if you could do this in Bromley, basically. That's my thought.
Well, we can talk. Yeah, we can do. Well, Okay, so doing some business as well. That's good. It helps to pay for the holiday. I'm coming with Fritz to the Tetra Pak Festival. Yeah, you're going to go there too.
I'll definitely go for that, but I also want to go to Munich this year.
Yeah, why?
Because they've got nice beer, decent pretzels, and you can watch the surfing and the river in the middle of the park. And you can go swimming there naked in the park.
You can surf the river?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, interesting. Okay, we're doing holidays at the moment on the kind of request of Denisa, who's gone now, so yeah.
I'm going to a zoo at the end of the month.
Which zoo?
Port Lim for 3 nights.
Yeah. Live in the
We're glamping in a zoo.
You're glamping in a zoo for 3 days?
Where is the zoo?
Where is the zoo? Is it in the UK?
Yeah. It's near Hythe. God help us.
Near where?
Hythe in Kent. Port Lim. Yeah.
Okay, so you're spending 3 days in a zoo in Kent, and that's a holiday?
Well, I do have 2 small children, so it's kind of a holiday for them. And they'll be happy. And it's like nature. It'll be nice, out of the city.
Are you allowed to go out, or are you in the...
I think you are allowed to go out. And actually, it's quite near to my dad's.
Right.
It's quite near to my dad. So the idea is that we can get a shower. This is going back to the initial conversation. If it gets really desperate.
Everything is connected.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
So, all right. So Kira's going spending 3 days in the zoo. You're spending however long in a Tetra brick factory in Kiev. We're finding out about people's holidays. George is going to be surfing a river in Munich or something like that. Let's just go around. We didn't get your name. Well, we did get your name.
Hello, I'm Evie. The last holiday I went to was to Dundee.
Dundee.
Yeah.
But what about future? We're talking about the future.
Oh, future holidays. I'm not going anywhere in the future.
No.
No
Nowhere.
plans.
Okay,
It's
maybe
an empty vessel.
Maybe some suggestions for Evie there.
No, she knows what she's doing. I think she knows what she's doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't try to be smarter than her.
I would never do that.
Cheeky monkey.
I would never do that. I've 22 years sitting on this table. I've gradually, very, very slowly learned not to try and be smarter than everybody else. But it takes time. What?
You ask me a question.
No,
please.
but what holiday? Where's your holiday? Where's your dream destination?
I have so many beautiful holidays coming up.
Just give us one, just for the sake of dividing.
So the first one coming up.
Yeah.
It's in Bohemian, Switzerland.
In where in Switzerland?
Bohemian, Switzerland. It's actually.
Yeah.
It's not Switzerland at all.
Yeah.
It's by the border where is the Germany and Czech Republic up north.
Right.
And it's 25 of us, 2 kids and 2 dogs.
You're going on the holiday with 25 people, and then there's
two kids.
2 kids, but they're not people.
And 2 dogs.
and 2 dogs. Okay. Interesting. I'm just going to move this around quickly, because this is a good one, probably to get everyone involved.
Yeah.
First of all, tell us your name for this session.
Stacia.
Stacia, have you got any holiday plans, Stacia?
I do. I'm going to Tenerife.
To where?
Tenerife, Spain, España.
Yeah.
The beach.
Any particular reasons for going there? Is there a festival?
Happiness, pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to relax.
Okay. All right. Gary. Tell us your name.
Isabel.
Holiday plans?
Holiday. We're going to stay in a commune in Dorset.
No, but what are your holiday plans? That was the question.
That is our holiday.
That is your actual holiday?
Yeah,
going to a commune?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where they have animals and you look after them and you plant and there's a garden and it's sort of self-sufficient and you cook dinner together. And it used to be a school it was like Summerhill, you know those schools that are progressive experimental schools. It was like that for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it just fell apart. The kids trashed it, and but some of the teachers stayed on and started a commune.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay. All right, so we've got a new face at the table. We've got a couple of new faces. We have got George. We have got Evie. We have got Denisa. We've got Stacia. We've got Isabella and Kira. And what's your name?
Amit.
And we've got Alessia And we have got Fritz, and what's your name?
Loretta.
And what's your name?
Salim.
Salim. At the moment, we're just kicking off. We're just warming this up. At the moment, we're talking about holidays. It sounds like quite a dull, sort of straightforward question, but it's been actually very interesting because Fritz, for example, is going to a Tetra Brick factory in Kiev. Tetra Pak, sorry, not Tetra Brick. Thank you, George. Yeah, it's like a carton factory. It's closed down, and now it's going to be an industrial rave thing. And Isabella is going to a commune. Do you have to pay to go there, or is it free?
You do have to pay. Yeah.
Okay.
Not much, but it's to support them.
Some kind of animal farm.
You can learn to do scything.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can learn to make a cob house.
Make a what?
Cob house. It's like wattle and door, basically, but
like
it lasts forever.
Cottage. Okay, we've got a new face table. What's your name?
Agathe.
Agathe, welcome. Have you come a long way to be here today?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I was in France, in Brittany.
Okay, wow.
This morning.
So in a way, you're kind of on holiday already.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Except I'm working, but yeah.
How's it been so far? Okay, getting a drink in.
Holidays.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, in a way, maybe we could expand this out. Why do we need to travel? Why do we need to go? We didn't really ask you, Salim, what your holiday plans are, or Loretta, or me. So maybe let's go around. You're on holiday already, so we've got a new face to say. What's your name?
Judith.
Judith. Shall I do you want to know everyone's name?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Evie, George, Salim, Loretta, Fritz, Alessia, Amit, Kira, Isabel, Stacia, Denisa, and Agathe, and I'm Mikey. At the moment we're talking about holidays. And we've heard of a few holidays from a few different people. We didn't hear about Salim, Loretta, or Amit's holiday, or you, Judith. But Agathe's already on holiday now. She's just come from France, just this minute. So, is it a dream holiday so far?
So far, it's been an hour, and I couldn't dream about anything better.
Yeah, it couldn't be better. Okay, Salim, have you got any holiday plans?
So I will be in Amsterdam for the first time on my birthday. Not next week, but the week after. But you don't think it's a little look. So like the thing about like the whole legal cannabis thing in Amsterdam, it's legal. It's legal in my country in a lot of places. So I've already been there, done that. But the biggest thing is
so you're not going there to smoke?
No. That's already legal in where I come from. So I'm going there for the experiences, for the museums, Van Gogh, the bicycles. I have a nice girl who's coming to stay with me next week for 2 weeks.
Is this a potential girlfriend?
Yeah, but we used to see each other. But she's coming. Okay. She's coming. She'll land on the 15th next week.
And you taking her to Amsterdam?
Yeah. Well, when her birthday's on the 16th and my birthday's the week after, so she's gonna be here for the first time in London, staying with me, and then we're going to Amsterdam after. Okay, so she'll come here. She will stop by here. Yeah.
So pressure is on in a way, isn't it?
I guess so.
Okay. Okay. Holiday plans, Loretta? Any holiday plans?
No, but I'd like to go away.
Okay. Maybe we could come up with some.
I also have no holiday plans, unfortunately. But if you, where you're from, weed is legal. But in Amsterdam, you get magic mushrooms, which are like that's quite fun. Yeah.
I was a big raver. Been there, done that.
Okay. All right. I mean, where do we want to go with this? Do we want to talk about holidaying and substances? Do we want to talk about strange places? Do we want to talk about this commune and why people are still running the commune, even though the school collapsed and they're just got some animals and some scythes now. Where do we want to go with this? Up to you. It's not up to me. It's up to you. Where do you want to take this conversation? Yeah.
Can I hear more about the commune?
Okay, tell us a bit more about this commune.
Okay, so it's a commune.
How did you find out about it as well?
I googled communes.
Really?
No, not really. Not really. A friend of mine told me about it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine told me about it. My husband's really into that sort of ideology.
Is
I
he a
guess.
communist?
Yeah, and he. So I took him last time for his birthday, and he really enjoyed it. So we're going to go again.
Okay, so have you been to other communes? Or
No,
the same
just that
commune?
one.
Okay, and you really had a good time.
It's a really beautiful place, actually.
What is so good about? What's so nice about it?
Because you wake up early and you are working with animals and you're working with in the fields, and you'll cook together and you get to know people, and you feel like you're kind of making
part of something,
things together. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else been to a commune?
I feel commune is a bit of a loaded word.
Yeah, you think that
seems to be some kind of reaction to the word commune.
There was a reaction over this side of the table.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we talking about a community or a communist?
It's a commune. It's just people that live together and
But
work
people
together.
that live in commune.
Some of them are socialist, I guess, but not all of them. Some of them are anarchists.
Okay. All right. Okay. We've got a new face at the table. Just quickly give us your name.
Hi, my name is Laurien.
Laurien. Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
At the moment, we're talking about holidays, but holidays to communes. Has anyone been to a commune apart from Isabella?
I haven't, but there are quite a few housing projects, like Sanford Housing Project in London, which some of you may know. I don't know. And they're maybe not communes in sort of pure sense, but they do have like commune aspects where people can have shared gardens and where they grow food and that stuff.
So people can communes. They have the cults, the cult communes. You gotta watch out.
Have you ever been to any of those?
No, I've never been to a commune.
Isn't that like a cult with a commune attached, rather than like a commune with a cult?
I didn't say that all of them. It's not a definitive correlation for everyone. You're saying you just gotta watch out for the ones that have the cult.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
We've got someone rushing to the table. What's your name?
Because I actually used to live in a commune in Suffolk.
You used to live in a commune. What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Benedict.
Yeah.
No, it was run by a bunch of ex-public school boys who were always shagging each other, so I managed to escape that. But it was basically a recording studio. A band called the Enids, you remember them? They were sort of pseudo kind of rockers who used to use a lot of Elgar on their work. And I ended up there from Tyneside, and it was just like such a culture shock, really,
Yeah.
And they had a manager who had an amphetamine factory in Birmingham, so we were constantly being raided by the police. And we had an escape route out of the back of the farm, which was actually quite useful.
Right. So your commune was an amphetamine factory?
No, it was associated with an amphetamine factory.
Right.
But the problem with the commune is always a leader, you see, who takes over.
Yeah.
It's a dictatorial society in a way, which pretends to be sort of democratic, but it never is,
Right. Okay. So how long were you in the commune?
Only 6 months, and I escaped.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the ideal kind of worked, but in practice it was kind of
not the ideal nor the practicality worked. It was completely fucked up. Yeah.
Okay, neither worked. Okay, Kira.
So there's kind of something interesting there, isn't there, between kind of going to stay in a commune, like holidaying in a commune, and living in a commune.
Yeah.
I can say that because she's my.
I feel so sorry for them. I've been living in this kind of neighborhood for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't my choice. I just want to live close by my workplace. Hey, I just really found this beautiful place to live at. Department. I fell in love with my sister, younger sister, and we just ended up in this bloody, really nasty neighborhood. Like, oh, really dodgy, hey. And then last year, summertime, I was walking, past by, and I discovered these kind of things. I was like, hello, my name is Denisa. Really nice to meet you.
Are you talking about Tommy Flower's pub?
Yes. I was like, what are you up to? What are you doing in this place?
Is this a kind of commune in itself?
Yeah. And you know what? They were like looking at me like I'm the most biggest stranger, like a weird person. Yeah. I was like, hi. That's what we do. I was like, excellent, welcome. I want you to be here and stay here forever.
Okay, so in a way, we're weirdly in a commune now. We didn't even realise. Is this from your experience, Gary, of being in the... Welcome to the commune.
The question is, though, what kind of factory is attached to this commune?
Okay, yeah. I mean, what's the production? What are we actually producing here? That's the question. Okay, so actually we've discovered we're kind of in a commune of chat. We're producing conversation, I suppose.
This is socialism.
Is it?
Yeah, because we're somehow this is socialism, right?
Okay,
everyone coming together, sharing their experiences.
Okay.
I didn't hear what he said.
It's socialism, he's saying. This is a kind of socialism of conversation. Do people feel are we in a commune now? Does this mean that Isabella doesn't need to go on holiday to the you're already in a commune?
Well, this is our commune, isn't it? I mean, a commune by a beach. I don't know if it's by a beach, but that's different to a commune here, right?
Yeah. Okay. So this is more of an urban commune. Yeah.
But then I guess for me, like a commune is something where you spend a long time together and you don't necessarily leave on a regular. Whereas like a pub like this, you leave on a regular. I hope at least most people do. I don't know, but so I think a commune is more where you're like almost forced together, and that can be horrible as well as really nice. So I think it's like that.
Have you ever been in a commune or anything like it?
I wouldn't really call it a commune, but it's like similar-ish in a way. Like when I was basically I finished school in 2006, and then I went to live in Scotland, and that was like a community of about 200 people. Half of them had learning disabilities, and the other half didn't, basically, and they were like run and like different workshops and all sorts of things. And I lived there for a year, so in a way, because of the small scale, and that's slightly different than the rest of the world. In a way, it's a little bubble. So it has like commune aspects.
Did it work for you? Was it a nice place?
I really enjoy. I don't think I want to live there, but a year was amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so these places can work. They can be.
My father had a birthday, 60th birthday last weekend over here.
Yeah.
They came over from Czech Republic, my father and my mom.
Okay.
And they've been so pleased and really enjoyed the birthday party here. You know what? We clear out the shit outside there. There is the garden, concrete garden.
Yeah, and you got rid of the concrete?
No, unfortunately, but we got rid of the shit.
Okay.
But anyway, hello.
Okay.
About a commune, so I would say it's like, not to get too not philosophical or complicated about it, but a commune in a pure sense would be sovereign, completely sovereign from any hierarchical governance.
Right.
A pure commune would be completely sovereign, no taxation. If you're a pure commune where everybody is providing and working for the community there, you'd be completely sovereign from any
not
governance.
Part of the government. It's not. It's just running its own.
It'd be like fuck them. It'd be like we're us. That's what a pure commune is.
Yeah. Hang on. George.
An example of that is the Christiania in Denmark. If anyone's been to Copenhagen, seen Christiania? There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
And that is. Have you ever been there?
I have indeed. It's like an autonomous sort of.
What is it like? Is it a nice place to visit?
It was raining when I was there.
Okay, all right. So it didn't. I'm going to come to you in a second. Let's. Agathe.
No, just wanted to react to what you were saying. I don't think it doesn't depend on any government, but there are sets of principles and ideology and rules that apply only to this community, and I think that's what makes it different. But they don't necessarily extract completely from the society.
Yeah.
They can, but not necessarily.
Yeah, it might just be like a semi. Yeah. Isabel.
Yeah, I think it's also. I mean, the commune that we visited is self-sufficient, so it is about actually being able to cut yourself off from.
Do they not pay any taxes or anything like that?
Yeah, they pay tax, but they're attempting to be. I mean, within the limited kind of the limits of what you have in this country, they're trying to be self-sufficient, and it's about ecology as well. So they're trying to kind of model ways of treating the environment and ways of living that are more ecologically friendly,
more sustainable,
and more sustainable. So and that's how they try to live. So that's the main.
What is the sort of main way that they do that and be more sustainable?
So I think just being self-sufficient is a really
So
and
not buying anything.
Yeah, and the way they teach people to make their own homes that are really eco-friendly, and the way they teach people to use agricultural skills that are more ecologically friendly, and so it's a teaching kind of context.
So
as
it's
well.
also about the knowledge, keeping the knowledge going.
That's what we try to do in this place, by the way.
Yeah. So you think in a way this is similar?
We just don't bother anyone. We just do it and just do it, and it works in this place, right?
But I mean, what about the question?
Just don't expect anything from others. Just do it yourself.
Do it yourself. Okay, so the main ethos there is about the sense of getting together and doing it, and not waiting for somebody else.
Do it.
Yeah.
Make other people be pleased and just enjoy the moment. Look at here around you, guys.
Okay. I'm looking around. So how far? My question then, Denise, is how far can we take this? How far? If we could all get together and do something, is it just about talking? Could we go further than that? These people around the table, and what could we do?
You're pretty limited by the. I guess I'd say.
Well, the amount everyone's had to drink.
Well, no, not necessarily. If you want to get to the actual nitty gritty of it, it's like there is no way on this planet that you're going to get a government who's making a lot of money off of taxation to be like, you can have this little chunk of these individually imaginary drawn lines that give us all of this public funds that are mismanaged, and you can do what you want. I'm not going to do
So you're saying the government doesn't want us to get together and do our own things? That's what you're saying?
Aligns with what they want.
Yeah, okay. What do other people think? Is there actually a wealth of possibility here that we could do something? Evie, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say that I had been to Christiania as well, and that was one of the cases where it was it was actually just a really successful community of squatters who took a piece of land which was being unused and made it their own, and it was actually a good use of the government actually realising that these people have been here. I think at the time when they legalised it about 7 years, they said, okay, you guys are here and you're allowed to be here. So when I went around, I didn't necessarily think it was a commune, but it was this community of people who it started as squatters, and then they were self-builders. So when you walked around, when I went around, it was 25 degrees. It was gorgeous. It was like June. But it was just like a community of self-builders as well. So every single house was different, and it was well made. And I think that was what made me excited.
Do you think it was a very exciting place then?
Yeah, and because it was a good government decision. It wasn't a government decision which thought, oh, these people have therefore broken a certain amount of laws and therefore we have to prosecute them. They sort of let it grow.
They kind of encourage people.
And then they sort of just, they kind of almost said, we were wrong in this case, it's okay.
Okay.
I think, that sort of tradition of self-building, we kind of, in Britain, we tend to now think that this is something that happens over there in Europe and Scandinavians do it and stuff, but we do it, and the British have done it, and Essex did it in the plotlands, and loads of Londoners went out to Essex and made their own houses out of disused railway carriages, and they made their own houses, and there's sort of fragments of that still exist. And
could we do that here in Poplar?
We should do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I guess in a way, like narrowboats kind of are a little bit like they're all over London, and they kind of are their own little commune. Like the people, like boat people, kind of they stick together. I mean, that sounds a bit weird, but like there's like it's like their own little community with their own little values and own little problems. So in a way, and they can like stay almost anywhere if there's water in a way. So in a way, they are a little commune.
Yeah, so it's
like,
kind of like
a nomadic
little stretch
commune.
of freedom. Yeah.
Except there's no governing set of principles, I think. Like it's a community.
Do you need to have this set of principles, or could it just be free for all?
I think in a commune, you abide by certain rules that are rules or principles.
Yeah.
I feel that's my idea of it, but I don't know if in Christiania, for instance, they had this kind of set of rules at the beginning, of ideologies at least that everyone shares.
Do you need a certain set of rules? For Talkaoke, I should say there's 2 rules. This is important, especially for you. No singing, and no fighting. It's really important. 2 rules.
What about humming?
Humming, I don't know. It's up to the person in the middle to decide these things.
In order for a group to function, then I don't know how you would translate Weltanschauung as worldview, or like essentially having a mission statement, something like that.
Yeah.
You
so
kind
you need
of
to
have
that
to have.
mission.
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't necessarily. I know we're speaking about governance and things like that, but there has to be you know, I guess the people that lived, I'm not entirely sure where it was when we were speaking about that, but wherever that group of people are attracted to something like that because they're interested in something that's underpinning the values of that group. So there has to be something.
So you need to have this collective belief in a way.
So, Isabella, I'm curious, when you decided which commune to go to for holiday, were you looking into the underlying values? I mean, how much was that
or was it
criteria in your... just out of curiosity.
Yes, I mean, I think principles is a better term than rules. I think your word is right. So it seemed to me that there were a set of principles there that were about protecting, retaining, about a kind of responsible liberty that I thought were a really interesting set of ideas.
And there was also the thing you mentioned earlier on about this sustainable life, and then living in a way that you can live forever, I suppose. Thing on this side. Okay, so we certainly got that in mind.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think self-building on boats or self-community on boats or on flat land where you've got like almost portioned bits of space where you can say this is mine is great. I can't see it working in London if you're building a ton of flats and you have to rely on the person below you, above you, like that self-building well. I think when you get to such a concentration of people, there's just too many people that one of them will fuck you over whether they mean it kindly or not. Someone might just build their house wrong.
Like the person on level 3 will just make their house out of cardboard or something like that.
It happens, and it happens enough. Then when we have landlords who own places, or the person upstairs forgets that the bath is on, and then it soaks through. So just imagine doing that, but without any kind of accountability.
Okay,
so maybe the numbers.
Numbers can only work in a small scale.
I guess it's in terms of building, there's building codes for a reason, and I guess if you build your own little shed somewhere in the middle of nowhere, if it burns down because you're an idiot, it's your fault, you're dead. But if you're in a very dense space like a city, then you automatically will inflict more people. So I guess that's where it gets very tricky.
That's
the kind of the density is tricky.
So let me just come to Isabel.
Yeah, I mean, I must say I do feel personally quite sceptical about this carving out a small space or where you can not be responsible for things outside. I mean, I think actually, personally, I'm a bit more for the state and for regulation and for kind of broader.
Is it about
principles.
A space thing that it works well if you're in the countryside?
I just think it doesn't account for everything, and that may work on a small scale, or it may work in some conditions, but it doesn't account for everything, and it can't solve every problem. Okay. And I just think that there are bigger ways of organising things.
So we've got to think bigger.
I was just thinking about the whole thing about commune, and I think you said anarchism, no anarchy. Anarchy is really. It's self-organisation by society without a government. That's the real definition of anarchy, which is what a commune is. So, anarchy is a good thing because it means we all organise. Well, the real definition, it's not like anarchy doesn't mean anarchy. Anarchy means organisation by the people.
Earlier on you were saying that you work in the NHS.
I didn't say that.
Okay, whoops.
I do,
But could anarchy work in the NHS, for example?
Anarchy is there in the NHS and it's not working.
Right, okay, well.
Speechless.
Anarchy is not a true system. It is a transitional period from one system to another. It is a vacuum that is always going to be filled because of the human condition.
Right.
You will always have somebody that has a little bit more than someone else. You always have somebody that has a higher IQ, who has more of a better idea. Everybody wants to be part of something bigger than themselves.
So there will always be a hierarchy.
Because even if there's anarchy in the governments, you already have an organized religion or whatever. Anarchy is not a true form. It's never a stable form. It is a transition. It is a vacuum that will be filled by something else.
Okay, all right.
I was just going to say, I always like the idea of organic self-organisation, but then I think about either my friends or myself, or are you the kind of person who's more likely just to offer to clean up, do all the washing up because it's there, and then you realise the person you live with only washes up their stuff? Then is that Exactly. So, for a small-scale example, is that what happens in anarchy? It might be self-organised, but you've got a few people who are just always doing the washing up.
Okay, so there's always going to be people that end up doing all the washing up in an anarchist system. That's a flaw in the anarchist system. Washing up never gets done. I'm just going to...
Well, I think anarchy works in theory, but not in practice.
Okay, could this pub be run in an anarchist fashion?
Well, it already is.
Okay.
I mean,
all right, yeah.
Well, talking about revolution, perhaps, did you know that Ho Chi Minh worked as a dishwasher here in London?
Yeah. Did he do all the washing up, or did he?
I think he did, yeah, and then he caused the revolution in Vietnam.
Okay, so he believed in washing up.
Yeah.
Again.
I just want to add to this that anarchy doesn't work in practice but works in principle. It's the same thing for any ideology, democracy, anything. Anything
Never
works in a principle, but in practice it doesn't work.
Okay.
So why not?
Okay. Can I just say, have you worked out how this works now?
I think so.
Do you want to have a go in a minute? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to change. In a true anarchistic fashion. We're going to actually just change the person in the middle. Just sit on this crack, and then just do what I do, but in the opposite. Sit on there, and then just put your knees together. Everyone hold on to their pints and just spin around like that. Oh, she's gone under. Okay.
Very low. All right, everyone. Who wants to sing? No, I'm kidding.
Hang on. Let me give you this. Okay, so maybe you next.
It's no longer anarchy.
In a minute, I would say.
Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah, sure. So she's come all the way, 24-hour journey from France. Yes. So keep it warm. Let's welcome again. Let's give her a big round of applause, and let's just get everyone's name, and then we'll go from there.
Can I get everyone's name? Starting with you. What's your name, please?
Stacia.
Stacia?
Yes. Isabel. Kira.
Amit.
Loretta.
Just talking about how tigers live.
Your name, please.
Tigers live anarchy without actually realizing what anarchy is. Yeah? They just rule the world. They rule the world. You know?
Very interesting point, though. We're just doing the.
I can't quite hear you.
Name.
What's
I
that?
don't know.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
What's your name?
What's your name?
Je m'appelle Gary. We're supposed to be doing a French thing tonight, aren't we?
Just with the French person in the middle, we're doing it in English.
Everyone speaks French from now on.
So my last name, call me Khan, my last name.
Sorry?
That's my last name, Khan.
Mikey.
Je m'appelle George.
Je m'appelle Evie.
Judith. Laurien.
Okay, I'm kidding, we can speak English. I can't... Does it work? Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me turn you up a little bit. Your voice.
Je pense que Gary veut que je parle en français.
Ah, d'accord. Maybe it's going to be a bit excluding for the people. So maybe we can do that later.
Okay.
So you were talking about tiger and anarchy.
Yeah. Tigers. Rule their own world. They have their own anarchy, don't they? They don't give a fuck, you know? They have no politics.
They live pure anarchy. They live pure anarchy because as soon as they're young or old enough to be on their own, they get kicked out in their own territory. They live all individually, no governments, no nothing. That's pure anarchy.
Stripes aren't anarchy. That's a pattern that's organised.
I kind of like the point. I think you made it that all of these systems don't really work. But for me, I'm quite attracted to anarchy. But I think you can't have anarchy without the police. You still need to have the police because you know, people will always try and fuck the system. So you need police.
What do we think about anarcho-syndicalism?
I was just going to be like, can you explain that?
So, yeah, well, it's like a system based on, so So you have little, basically it's like little communes, but they all have a kind of, they all meet and decide things collectively amongst the different communes. They sort of, and every decision is made through consensus rather than through like voting or some kind of majority or hierarchy or whatever. So there's a kind of, so you have these smaller, so anarchism works on the smaller scale, but you can then join that up so that it works on a larger scale. And that was one of the models put forward, as I guess, as a kind of version of communism. So anarcho-syndicalism, those two were kind of fighting it out in the 19th century.
Sorry, you next.
One thing inherently as Homo sapiens, as biologically, what has made us the dominant beings on this planet, besides opposable thumbs, being bipedal, and massive brains, is being social and teamwork. So inherently ingrained in us was made us successful as working together and having a structure. So anarchy is intrinsically almost like the antithesis of us as a species.
But it's still working together. As far as I understood, it's like a small local place. You had a point?
So I guess in a way what you were saying is kind of like federalism in a way, that you have like, because I know like in Germany each state can have some individual decisions. There's 16 of them, but then there's like overall rules. Obviously that's on a massive scale, and all the states in Germany are not like anarchist communes, but some of them maybe, but
not yet.
Like the American system.
I didn't really have a point. It was just. Sorry, what was your name? Salim. You said as Homo sapiens, as a species, but there was a documentary a couple of years ago I saw which said that apparently most of us aren't 100% Homo sapien. Majority of us have got a bit of Neanderthals apparently, which is quite interesting. We're not even like one pure species. It's really interesting.
Do you want to start this topic? Anarchy or Homo sapiens? Homo sapiens.
There was Neanderthals, Homo erectus, and Denisovans. If you're talking about the species that we are as we know it, the Homo sapien, we are a mixture of different hominoids that have all intermixed and whatever through war, rape, all of these terrible things that have happened. We are now this mesh, of what we are. But it's a vast variety of hominoids that have intermixed from the mysterious common ancestor.
You know what? I really agree with this American guy. Even though I don't usually agree with the Americans.
Okay, let's not enter the.
But you know what?
What?
That's why he might move to England and Europe, this guy. But you know what? I agree with whatever he said. Well done.
Right. So someone on our side. I'm doing something very bad with the mic. It's all over.
I think it's about time we talked about the Danny Baker infamous tweet of the couple with the small ape dressed up as a human. I found the most offensive thing about that is the ape was dressed up as a human, and people have made a huge issue about this. So I was wondering whether if it had been a small orangutan, it would have been offensive against Prince Harry, or the fact that chimps generally have white skin. So what's the problem? We're all descended from apes, so we all share that general sort of descendancy, So what is the fucking uproar about, It's against the royal family, which I fucking hate, and I want to shoot the ball now.
I don't know a huge amount of topic, but I know that it has been historically used as a huge sign of abuse, and I think that and racism, and I just think, don't go there. It's offensive. I think it's inappropriate.
I think for him not to realise the offence is surprising.
Agree. Yeah. He acts surprised that he got fired. Which, he got. The BBC fired him today.
So, I'm following the British news. No, I'm aware of what happened, and so the issue seems to be more in his reaction and the fact that he denied any wrongdoing. Then.
But don't you think dressing up an ape in human costume is really offensive in the first place? So you have to start from that point of view,
We're all apes dressed up in human costume.
Not me.
Not you?
I'm a human, yeah. Talk for yourself, Mikey. Yeah.
think I'm also a Republican, so I'm not defending the royal family, but I agree with you that actually chimpanzees have been and monkeys have been used as racist totems for a long time. So because there's no actual correlation, it's about a kind of cultural trace, isn't it? That he's not.
Why not break that down? We're all from the same descendancy, aren't we? So why should it be a racist slur when we're all from the same descendancy,
Yeah, I mean, I think we quite often get this conversation on Talkaoke where, like, people it is the political correctness gone mad conversation where people say, I can't say this, other people can say that, I can say this, other people can say that, and in the end, it's always comes down to context, because it's about the context in which it was said, and in my mind, the context was pejorative, that it was offensive. And so it does, in a way, somebody else like, what's her name? Jane Goodall could probably do something like that with an ape and it wouldn't be, but not Danny Baker, sorry.
And he chose this animal and not the coconut.
Yeah, so I think it's, so I'm not necessarily I'm not for the royal family at all. But what I will say is what William and Harry went through in terms of losing their mother from being young boys, which actually people so I'm effectively left against the monarchy, but what people fail to talk about is these are really two young boys that not only did they lose their mother, they lost their mother in the media and they had to walk behind the coffin during that procession that was the funeral. So I kind of think any happiness that they then get, they well deserve. And also it's like in the same way that someone that's born into poverty doesn't deserve that, they haven't actually asked to be born into that wealth. So as much as what I'm against the format of the royal family, they haven't asked to be born into that either. So I'm against the royal family, but I shouldn't set precedents against them because they haven't asked to be born into that either. And I feel like they lost their mum and they probably don't deserve, like any young boy that loses their mum shouldn't come up against what they came up against anyway.
I think, a lot of really awful things happen to lots of people. And I sort of, because I was following what Gary was saying on Facebook today about this, and I think I similarly, I was kind of like, okay, what, this is sort of somebody saying, oh, for fuck's sake, we've had enough of talking about this baby, because it's a baby, and that's lovely, that's great. It's a baby, but there's lots of babies. This isn't it's not a special baby. And so my initial response to this was somebody puncturing this at last and saying, let's talk about something else. And so that was my initial kind of, oh, yay, we're not talking about that, oh, and then thinking, and then a second response, which was, oh my God, this is a really bad, why would you do, not that. There's a lot of ways that you can diss the royal family, but this was a really ill-advised and really misjudged way to do that. Yeah.
Danny Baker didn't say anything about Prince George looking like a chimp, did he? That's it.
Not that I'm aware of, but maybe there's more.
My only exposure to the royal family was photographing Prince Andrew in Buckingham Palace, and he was thick as shit, honestly. I went in there, and I was guided down this corridor of deer's heads shot by Fergie, shot by Andrew. What a couple of thick cunts there were. And I actually saw her wandering off in the distance, and my God, did she have a fat arse. And then I got taken into his personal office, and it had one of those carpets where the tiger's head is still attached. This was just bizarre,
Yeah, this kind of thing.
I was doing it for a charity at Moorfields Eye Hospital because he was a patron of that. And I went in there and I saw a pregnancy test on the side of the table. And if I had been a press journalist, I would have said, oh my God, this royal couple are pregnant. I didn't do that. I had the respect not to do that. And they said, look, you've got to address them as your Royal Highness. I thought, fuck, I'm not doing that. So I took his photograph and I said, can you just lean forward a bit, because he has such a fat gullet, like a turkey, And the thing is, every time he cracked a joke, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is so fucking funny." But he was just like, Blackadder when Hugh Laurie's playing the Prince Regent. He's a complete idiot. He cracks jokes and not funny. Prince Andrew was just like that, thick as fucking shit. And I say that from personal experience, yeah.
So we have a new face. And you, what's your name?
Not as thick as shit.
That's a great name.
Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
Anyone else has some royal anecdotes to share? Yeah, thank you.
I once parked my van in Buckingham Palace. Yeah, but that's it. I don't really believe in the royal family, but I do agree with what Amy said about that we're all victims of the structure that we live in. So it's actually the structure that needs to change, and it's very easy just to criticise people for being stupid. It's not Andrew's fault that he's stupid, but it's actually the structure that needs to change, and let's not focus on the individuals, but actually the structure.
So the only thing I'll really say is, when we're talking about a question of structure, systems, anarchy, or anything like that, is always think for yourself and question anything that is ever told to you. It's always never be subservient to authority. If someone says just do this because I said to, be like, fuck you. You need to tell me in as much logical detail as possible why this is why I need to do this. That is the biggest thing, is that, and there's so many people that are comfortable, it's like, oh, well, the system works for me, the status quo is fine, so it's on your doorstep. That's the reason why we still have what we have. Not enough people are thinking for themselves or questioning, and everybody's cool with, oh, I guess it's working for me right now, tomorrow's gonna be fine, next week's gonna be fine. But that's really it,
Sorry. I just wanted to ask, because I sort of noted everybody talking about their frustrations with the current system that they lived in, and I wondered, everybody will have a different journey and a different point that they punctuate. A different point that they punctuate as that moment or a period of time where you do start to become extremely frustrated with the sort of system that you live in. I was just, because you started speaking about communes and then anarchy came up, and you can kind of feel the emotion when people were talking about it. I was so interested about people's experiences of just becoming really frustrated. That was all I was just like, I went outside.
Yeah, and that's a good point. When did you start questioning everything, actually? At which point?
What the unfortunate thing is with social media and all of these really everybody watches Game of Thrones, everybody watches Breaking Bad, all of that. There's so many people that are like, I am thinking for myself, but you believe you're thinking for yourself, but you're literally just copy and pasting everything you see on social media and be like, this is me now. I am Labor, I am Republican, I am Democrat, I am an individual, although you're really just copy and pasting what other people are doing, and you're not necessarily taking together all of the facts of life that you see in your everyday experience and trying to come to some sort of conclusion yourself. Even if you don't feel that it's right, you might be like, oh, well, this is what everybody else is doing. This is me now.
Okay. So tell me, Isabel.
Just to respond, really, I think it's also important to think together and not just on your own, and that actually the thinking you do with other people can often be much more productive and meaningful than the thinking you do on your own, which can actually be dangerous. I think if you just think on your own, that can be dangerous, and if you're just resisting, that doesn't necessarily get you anywhere.
So do you think it's talking to people that actually triggered a questioning of the society, like to just take
come back to what Judith was asking?
Therefore, Talkaoke will save
Talkaoke, yeah, it will.
I can't drop the mic, it's not mine. But
There is only one thing worse than the royal family, and it's that people who aspire to be close to them. They are fucking despicable. They all need to be shot.
I
love you, Gary, but I'm going to argue against this because, so for instance, William and Harry, yes, they have a massively fortunate life. I'm not going to get into that, but they didn't.
People who aspire to be
Yeah, but I know, but I'm saying they they didn't. So we're all born, right? No one passes a test. So whether we are now here in this very much fortunate lifestyle, or whether we're in third world, or whether we are aristocracy and we are William and Harry, no one go. But you kind of said, if you are the royal family, I want to be shot rather than the William family.
So get a bit closer.
Sorry. So my argument would be that I am equally as against the royal family, but what I don't like is people that are actively against the royal family, as in William and Harry. Like, and I'm not even their biggest fans, but I'm just like, they didn't choose to be born into that.
So it's like the principle against the principle, but not against the people, maybe.
I mean, Amy, you said that we're very fortunate to be born into this world, but I think in some ways we're not fortunate because we're kind of in a matrix, and everything that we do is we're discouraged to think, to be critical, as to to actually challenge the system, question anything. Like I think it all starts with education. Education is all about punishing people for thinking differently, so get everyone to think the same. And so, is that a fortunate world to be born into?
Just you and then you. Yeah.
I know.
Sorry. So,
Just as a point of clarity, sorry.
Did everyone hear?
A bit of a contentious way of describing.
Developing country.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm really sorry, but I have to say we are so bloody spoiled, so ambitious. We want everything 100%. But look, few years ago, they had people no electricity. There was war, constantly war. Look, people had nothing, no food, no electricity, no hot water. They never bloody complained. There was no bloody. Oh, by the way, I have got bloody depression and all that shit. It's just nowadays, people have got everything, but nothing.
What do you mean by
You know what I mean? Just people are spoiled. They just got used to everything to have tip-top in their life. And you know what, these days they're like complaining about this and that. I mean, when you look back a few years ago, they had nothing and they had to survive. They've been grateful for anything. Okay, you know what? Fine. We moving towards the new generations, new technology. How to make life and living better, okay? It's not happening so far. Well, we are getting there. That's why people are got annoyed and all that. Fair enough. But people a few years ago, they were in much deep shit. Did they complain? No.
So we both fortunate and unfortunate.
Okay, fair enough. Gary said what he need to say.
I think they did complain, but maybe we didn't hear them.
Yeah, okay. My dad was a coal miner. He was hard as fuck. And he always thought that anybody was complaining about anything to do with a mental problem was a fucking write-off. And then he got something called... oh, hello.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think what it was called now, actually. He had vibration white finger, which of course is a physical disease. But he got something which had to do with his brain, and he curled up on the bed for months and couldn't speak. And suddenly he realised that mental problems were everybody's problem, It was a revelation for me and him,
So, bye guys. Final thoughts? Just one.
I don't really have a final thought. I think that's a bit of a construction. There's no such thing as a final thought. It just continues forever.
Bravo. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I've just remembered my father's disease. It was called exploding head syndrome. Have you heard of that?
No, never.
It's to do with drinking too much coffee and smoking too many cigarettes, so be careful, Nick.
Nick, actually.
Thank you, Gary.
Excellent. I just wanted to say.
You wanted to react to you.
Oh no, I was just saying I gave up on coffee, but not the cigarettes.
Well done.
But it's a great film. Coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Don't mistake thinking for yourself as not working together. Just because you think for yourself and you have your own personality, and that you are not just going to be like, oh, this is what everybody's doing, I'm going to do this, that doesn't mean that you don't work together for the common good. The common good of every human being on planet Earth is for your life is so that you have liberty to do what you want in the pursuit of happiness, right? What does happiness mean to you? It can mean a variety of things. But if you just think like everybody else because this dude said to do that, that's how you fall into the trap of how did Nazi Germany happen? They all thought that Hitler was doing what was good for them, and they all thought like that. They said it's all fine. We're all thinking together, right? So.
So I had. Okay.
But I don't think it's. No, absolutely, I agree with you. It's a dialectic. Everybody has an independent thought. I don't think that any two people can have exactly the same thought. So that's not. And I also think the idea that people who lived in Germany during the periods where Hitler was in control, I don't think that those people. No, but I don't think that those people necessarily had the same thought. You're living within a context. We're all living within a context, and therefore we have to follow certain rules and boundaries because there's a whole reward system and a punishment system that we live in. So I don't know if that's necessarily.
No, but maybe when people were questioning it.
So I'm slightly segueing now, so sorry, but back to someone's point about mental health, which is actually something I'd really like to discuss and get people's thoughts and opinions on, is there's a whole thing in the media and outward now about mental health, which I personally think is great. So all about male suicide rate and about how a lot of people are suffering from depression and anxiety and mental health. I personally live in North London and I've lived there for 6 years, and now I get my escalator up on my tube and there's signs everywhere saying call this number if you are struggling, which is great. But I kind of speak to my friends and my parents of how our parents' generation where mental health wasn't really discussed, and kind of I guess what I'm interested in is mental health so apparent now just because we're talking about it and it's acceptable, and it isn't a taboo subject where we don't have to hide behind depression or anxiety, or it's acceptable? Or is it that, because to me our parents' generation had it a lot harder than what we do in so many ways, so I'm kind of I find it hard to, why is mental health such a thing now? So I'm has it been there all along, we just didn't talk about it, or am I was it so hard back then that people just got on with it? That's kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think. It's fine. No, I agree with her. I do think there was a kind of. It's all right. No, Denise, don't do that, darling. You can speak.
Come on.
Don't feel like that. Okay, I just was checking. I wasn't sure. I felt like I was dismissing you. Absolutely
opinions.
not.
Honestly, you go for it. Sorry.
No, I was saying I agree with what you're saying. I do. I love you too, darling.
It's not that.
I do think people kind of perhaps got on with things a little bit more, had that narrative that you kind of put your head down and you get on with it. But I think, I obviously have a job that's, well, not obviously, but I have a job that's, related to this field, and I don't think that it's that people suddenly care about it more or whatever, but I just think we've constructed a lot more language for these things. So obviously there are diagnoses for these things now, so those diagnoses enter the general population, so there's a way of talking about it, whereas before if you don't have language for something then you don't discuss it. So if you don't, these are all abstract things, absolutely, so now we have labels for them, there's shared understanding so we can discuss them. So I think that's the shift that's happened. I don't think it's that people suddenly care about it more, I just think we have a way of communicating with one another in a way that two people can kind of understand. Well, the words are there. If you don't have a word for something that's intangible, then how did two people have a conversation about it? Because you can't point to it and both agree upon what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think also let's take depression as an example. I think that's also quite a vast spectrum. It's not yes or no. And over time this shifted, and also the awareness of things shifted. So, people before saying I'm just in a bad mood, or I'm a grump, or I have the blues or whatever. Now people say no, I'm depressed, and the awareness of that is a lot bigger. So as you're saying, with suddenly you have words for it, it's yeah, that makes sense. That's why I feel this way. And I think it's in a way it just becomes much broader nowadays, the awareness of things, and also like, when do we say we're depressed? I think that has shifted as well. Like before was probably like, a couple of percent or like very, very few people, and nowadays it's a lot broader. It's the same like with like an example that's kind of similar to that. It's like, divorces, like they've been going up and up and up, and it's not, I don't think it's suddenly people are a lot more unhappy in their relationships. It's just like they actually, have the confidence to be like, I don't want to be there with that person anymore. So I think it's in the same way, like it's more independence and more kind of being okay to say I have depression.
So it's not only that we have labels, it's that also it's becoming more normal or more common to put this label on yourself.
Yes,
and on
and being open about it.
And without judgment,
Yeah. And I think, it is about research as well. But I do think discourse has changed reality. It's changed the way we see things, it's changed the way we understand ourselves. But there are earlier discourses, aren't there? Like, for example, the medieval discourse of melancholia and the choleric mood, the moods, across Europe in medieval periods. So it's always been there, but it's now there's been more research and there's been more. There's a greater and more complex discourse around it. Yeah, and a new understanding, and that changes the reality. I just want to say that I think young people have been the role of young people has been extremely interesting in developing the discourse around mental health. My daughter and her friends, she's 18, and they're so cool with it. It's just really, really interesting though, because they're really helping each other in ways that we could never help each other at that age. I think it's really amazing, actually.
Comes back to what Denise was saying, the gap between generations is huge, actually.
No, I agree with Judith that having the construct to discuss the things actually makes a huge difference. And I'm thinking of the fact that I grew up in a military town in the US. All of the fathers of Vietnam War veterans, but they just got on with it. Nobody was getting any mental health help whatsoever. And then the next generation, my sister actually did a tour in Iraq with the army, came back, clearly had post-traumatic stress disorder, but she was like in the first wave of people, and you just didn't admit that or your career was ruined. Then but then over time, it was sort of like the cost of not admitting that became so great, because there was acknowledgement that these other problems would come up. There were things like domestic violence, alcoholism, drug addiction, and I think there was an acknowledgement that we've got to go back to the sort of the source of this. So it wasn't like, and I'm sure like Vietnam, World War II, World War I, tons of people walking around with all sorts of mental health conditions that just simply weren't acknowledged.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know what your profession is, but I guess a lot of it comes down to the circumstance as well. So, for instance, say someone who is going through a divorce or a breakup, or maybe grieving a parent, might naturally suffer feelings of depression due to that circumstance, would maybe be a natural cause of going through those motions, whereas there may be someone who is in a really healthy relationship, who everything's going fine, and they actually are going through feelings of depression for no apparent reason other than they are getting depression. So I guess it's, I don't really know what the words are, but there's maybe like certain people that experience certain mental health issues due to certain causes of their life, and other people that unfortunately just have mental health issues for, I don't want to say no apparent reason, because obviously it's a mental health issue, but do you know what I mean? Like, there's no particular cause, but they obviously suffer a mental health issue, and they definitely need support and action. Do you know what I mean? So I guess it's kind of figuring out what is a natural cause of, if someone's grieving a parent, they're naturally maybe going to dip in mood and things, but if someone actually has clinical depression, that's a different thing, and that needs different support and different help. Does that make sense?
It comes back to what Lawrence was saying about scale as well.
I do agree really with what everyone's saying, but I do also think that there's many things in the world that we live in that contribute to mental health issues, like the anxiety created by a certain expectation of what we should be, be it the people selling us products or like our career success. And there's a psychiatrist called R.D. Laing who's kind of, his thing was that society that society. He was a funny guy. He definitely was a funny guy. But his main point was that society is actually what causes the psychiatric distress, because it's kind of creating these tensions that we can't resolve. And I think that a lot of the mental health issues that we've got, 1 in 4 people suffer from mental health issues. So is that the society that's actually making us or is that just the normal level of mental health suffering?
So probably a combination of both identification and
But further on to that, wouldn't you say that societal pressures are pretty constant? They may be different in different eras, but hasn't every person that's attempted to live in a society had pressures that could lead to mental health breakdown?
What about in the community?
What about 1950s? I guess, and this is me asking a question to the group because I'm genuinely really interested. Do you think that mental health has always been there, but people just either A, brushed it under the carpet, or B, had so much to think about and deal with that they couldn't even think about their mental health? They were just fundamentally thinking about keeping their family together and thinking about surviving, putting food on the table. Or do you think now we're in a much more privileged situation that we're allowed to think about our mental health more? And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm quite interested to know what people's thoughts are.
I'd like to say, I think, to a degree, social media has helped because it helps people speak to each other. But also, like something like this helps people speak to each other.
Yeah.
And mainly, the point is that if you don't speak to anyone and you're not recognised with a situation, but you don't want to be, you want to hide away. You want to just like, oh, I don't want anyone to know that about me. But fuck it, actually. If you're depressed, say it.
Final thought before you go. Thank you. Do you wanted to say something?
To say that
I think it's a
think
reaction.
this kind of thing's always been there, and if you, I'm not sure about social media. That's like obviously more recent, but other media things such as like even soap operas like Coronation Street, Neighbours, EastEnders, whatever. They serve as conduits to explain and demonstrate how this happens in society, and it allows people to recognise that in themselves and others, and to maybe intervene before the worst happens. And that's a good thing.
I'm really sorry I missed that point. So soaps? Do we call them soaps? I don't even know. I don't watch them anymore. I feel bad.
Sitcoms?
They do what? They
series?
Sitcoms, maybe not sitcoms, but like soap operas like EastEnders, Coronation Street, what have you, serve to act as conduits to demonstrate and illustrate this kind of behaviour to society, so that people may see that and recognise it in the real world.
So like the fact that they're always having like a bad time, you're like, oh okay, everyone goes through times of stress.
They can do, but not necessarily very well. But the idea of making a sketch or making a scene for an episode of something quite poignant actually does give exposure. And actually it does flick the switch for some people's minds to actually say, fuck yeah man, I've been in that situation and I don't want to be in it. So I think sometimes it can perfectly work, but it should not be manipulated.
No, into a half an hour sketch where at the end of it everyone's fine.
No, I wasn't thinking of anything with no, it wasn't quite one of those. Really, I do my best once a month. Really what I was getting at was that because I have some sort of personal experience of this. The point is that the fact that it's there, it serves to say, yeah, I recognise that, and then it lets people say, oh right, this is, I've seen that on the telly, I saw that last night, and it, as you say, it flips a switch. It shows something in the real world, and then that may trigger, in the positive sense, right, an intervention in the real world. right? It makes it more accessible. It makes it a more kind of a real thing, more palatable. Yeah, really. It makes it something you can talk about, and handleable. If you can talk about it, you can analyze it, and you can deal with it.
You had points? Yes.
Stacey. I think that there's a difference between other people talking about it and you talking about it. So I absolutely agree that in the 60s, my aunt she definitely suffered from postnatal depression. And I think that today it's much easier to talk about postnatal depression, but I think for the individual who is experiencing postnatal depression, it's just as hard to say, yes, that's what's happening to me. But I think, there's a sort of sense in which everybody is sort of more on the wavelength, and that's a good thing. But I think that still for the individual who is experiencing it, it's what Nick was saying as well, is that if you are depressed, you even if, lots of people are, that it's a really hard, it's just really hard. So even if it's better, I don't think that it makes it sort of easier in a way. It's not like, oh yeah, no, now we're all talking about it, so it's fine. Because if it was that easy, then nobody would be depressed in the first place, I suppose.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. Oh, well,
you can identify. You can put a name. You can put a name on it.
It makes it less taboo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, what I wanted to say, the first thing is that basically, internet or media in general, anything, is like nowadays there's a lot more input for all of us if we want to. There's a lot of stuff we can consume and interact with the internet, and that is, in a way, it's like a double-edged sword, because we see the perfect models, we see the perfect people and so on, and we strive to be that, and then we realize, no, we're actually not, so that's really bad. But then also we can get in contact with people that are very interested in very niche things or have similar experiences, and be able to exchange that, because it is, and in a way, it's like the internet is like a reflection of the world. You will meet absolute beautiful, lovely people, and you will meet absolute assholes, and that's it's just kind of, instead of it being your little village you live in, it's or your community or whatever, it's the whole world, and it's just amplified, the good and the bad in a way. So yeah.
Final thoughts.
Which thing with
the priorities
besides the fact that we're far more similar regardless of race, creed, religion, nationality, language, everything like that, far more similar than we are different. But with the internet, the beautiful thing about the internet is exactly what you described, that it is everybody in the world of every extreme together potentially for you to discover, but it's up to you as the individual to do that. And the only danger with the internet and social media is creating what's called an echo chamber, is that you only like what you like seeing and hearing, and friend the people who are like-minded as you, block everything else, and then you've created only a constant conveyor belt of things that align with your exact opinion. You only communicate with people that are exactly like you, and everybody else is wrong because your 1,000 friends are exactly like you. Your 500 news sites that you like are feeding you information that you agree with, and you're totally divided from other stuff. That's all you have, and you live in this echo chamber, and it's called an echo chamber because you say something, it bounces around and comes right back at you, because the environment, the world you've created, your digital imprint only includes the things that you want to be there.
Great final thoughts. Please, final thoughts.
You know what? For him being a born American, I really like his opinions, I must say. So far, so good. I really would like to say, really pleased to meet you, all of you. It's been a pleasure. I hope to see you really soon. I have to say good night. I'm working tomorrow morning. I have to be really fresh for the morning. Otherwise, I would stay here with you and enjoy the conversation. You've been incredible, by the way, you Frenchy girl.
And that's the perfect segue.
You know what?
Back
You're
to
doing
Mike.
so well.
Thank you.
I think everyone is joining that. I love you.
We love
You've
you
been
too.
really great.
Thank you, Denise.
I'm really missing you.
Stay
Denisa, you can come on the 30th of May when we got the next Talkaoke here at Tommy Flowers in 3 weeks' time. 30th of May, yes, come along.
31st of May.
Come along. And I think we should, while we're on the plaudits for Agathe,
And 30th of May, my mates from Prague are flying over. And you know what? They are fashion designers, and they will fucking make your mind crazy.
bye-bye, bye-bye.
Bye.
So while we're on the subject of plaudits for Agathe, let's just give her another round of applause because she's come all the way from France, stuck on a ferry, 24-hour journey, and still managing to
Stay awake.
well, more than stay awake, stay super alert. So well done, great stuff. You're obviously a natural, but that means we've got a vacant hole. Does anyone want to have a go in the middle on the table of chat? Come on. Well, you can do. Do you want to? Well, does anyone want to have a go in the middle? No. All right. In which case, I'm going to just jump in the middle, just because I feel, I think we've talked enough tonight, but I feel like we're not quite at the end of this conversation. So maybe, Amy, if you want to just say what you wanted to say, and I'll just get my equipment.
So all I want to say is our conversation before this lady took over was about how the banks and the society in general keeps people kind of not earning a lot of money. So our conversation was about credit cards basically and how they're designed to keep you in debt. And this gentleman mentioned something about TV shows and EastEnders, and I just had a thought. I don't know how many of you have like Netflix subscriptions. So I've recently binged on Dead to Me. I don't know how many of you have seen that, or maybe Dr. Foster, or okay. So basically, my thought was a lot of these TV shows, if someone's going through a bad time, they maybe naturally resort to perhaps having a glass of wine. So they get in and they're feeling a bit shit about their situation, and they'll have a glass of wine, quite a large glass of wine, or they might gamble.
Yeah. Or it might be a pint of Budvar, for example.
Yeah, but my kind of point was that these TV shows, and I'm not sure if it's deliberate or undeliberate, but their mechanism to cope is stuff that's naturally going to make them spend a lot of money and not be great for their health. So if you think of TV shows where a character, quite a central character, is going through a natural cause of stress, they're not doing a meditation class or going to yoga.
Yeah.
They're having a bottle of wine, or they're having
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It was just your comment about EastEnders that really made me think that a lot of the stuff I've recently watched on Netflix where a character's gone through distress, their coping mechanism has been something that
booze.
isn't going to help. No, not even booze. Like it might be gambling or spending money on a credit card. It's not
retail therapy.
It's not a coping mechanism that's actually going to help their mental health or their financial health. And I wondered if that was part of our conversation earlier, that it's not designed to make us.
The system is not designed to help us.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a thought. That was all it was.
Okay. When we're talking about dramas, when we're talking about TV, inevitably, that's the nature of drama. The characters have to have a little bit of stress, some trouble, but they solve the stress not through meditation or some other positive means, but normally through a negative means like boozing or gambling or drugs.
It's really irritating because I know that psychiatry runs through your veins, that's just your situation.
Yeah.
I know you didn't actually say medication, but that was the first thing that came out, and I'm being very Freudian and annoying, and I don't know, I just find it interesting that that's almost associated with like prescriptive drugs are associated with being okay, and because a medical doctor gives you those, whereas other ways of dealing with things are seen as like really inherently bad. I don't know, it's just very interesting how there's always this dichotomy between like this prescriptive medication and other ways,
self-medication that might be called.
Essentially,
Okay.
I don't know, I just always find it interesting. I'm not saying they're good or bad, but I just find that really interesting.
Okay. Isabella?
But I mean, if you see someone trying to deal with depression through alcohol, you know that's not the right answer, though. And
can it be in some circumstances or never?
Not if someone's got depression, alcohol will make it worse.
But then how much does the layperson know about psychoactive stimulants and the impact of those things on depression or schizophrenia or
what's a psychoactive stimulant? Give us an example.
Fun drugs that people know. Well, what do people call these things? It's usually the American brands. Valium and Xanax and Adderall and all these fun names that we give them. How much does the layperson know about these drugs and what they actually are? And
so I don't know anything about.
I mean, again,
but it's interesting the attributions that we geared towards things like alcohol or cannabis or I just find it. I'm not saying that I'm particularly like for or against or good or bad, but I just find it very interesting how quickly we make judgments about particular drugs and people's choices about how they want to manage their own lives as individuals, similar to almost the commune system, and people making a choice and taking up their own authority about how they want to live their lives, but yet we have like such strong judgments about people
so the main point I'm getting here is that we're kind of judgmental about how people choose to deal with their problems, be it mental health problems.
I guess my original point was like, is the media trying to lead us down a certain path that the only way to deal with stressful situations is by those choices? As I said, Phil, no one actually watched it, but Dead to Me on Netflix is this series where this lady had lost her husband, and literally every scene she's pouring herself like a large glass of wine, and Dr. Foster, large glass, and I'm not saying I love wine, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying that in a lot of, and I work for a brewery as well, so if anyone should be advocating alcohol, it should be me. But I'm just saying that.
Is it perhaps a dramatic device? Because would it work? I mean, I don't know if there's anyone here that knows about drama, but would it work as well if somebody took
But I'm also saying it doesn't kind of show the downside. So
cheesy chips, for example.
Tonight I'll have a few drinks, and tomorrow I'll definitely be a bit kind of like tired and maybe foggy, whereas in these TV shows people can drink a lot and then get up and go to these really high powered jobs and be amazing in their jobs. It's not always like
look at Denise.
A realistic
it's only a 30-minute episode.
So I'm just kind of saying that there's a lot of TV shows out there where someone that's in a stressful situation deals with it through
booze,
recreational drugs or alcohol, or even maybe being like really highly addicted to the gym, and it's seen as being a positive influence on their life, not a negative. And I just kind of ask, is that for a reason based on our previous conversation? Is society making us wanting to be in debt? Is society making us want to be dependent on cigarettes or alcohol or these other things that aren't necessarily serving others? That was kind of my question.
Okay.
I think, well, I mean, firstly, I don't think saying alcohol isn't a good choice for depression, as a medication for depression. By that I don't mean that other choices are better, that choosing to take, I don't know, paracetamol is going to be a better option. But also I think maybe that when people are shown drinking to cope with their problems, isn't that also a signifier of a kind of failure of the kind you're talking about, that you're using alcohol, that's a failed way to deal with your depression? Isn't that part of the narrative of that drama? Or
is it about the drama? Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean, it's kind of glamorized in these TV
it's glamorized.
shows.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's come.
None of you have seen this, so I can't. But if you watch these TV shows, it's kind of seen as being like quite a fun, almost glamorous.
I mean, we've
way
all seen the episode in the bar. We've all seen Naked Gun, for example. The blue. Gary, what's?
I was just wondering how many people have tried to match Richard Burton's drinking and Weigel's there, you know. But halfway through the film, you're fucked, you know.
Yeah.
And then all the adverts.
Have you tried to do this? Like drink as much as Richard Burton?
You can't do it, man. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And all the adverts are advertising all the drinks and stuff, and you can see him in, the film about Cleopatra with Liz Burton. He's absolutely fucked, you know.
Okay.
He's even drinking when he's driving that ship, man.
Okay.
And that is an amazing example of how he completely flitted away his talent and completely fucked up his life, you know.
Okay.
So, being interested in Anglo-American culture and comparisons and contrasts, I noticed long ago that as far as cinematic and dramatic tropes, in British dramas there will be a scene in which the person meets a crisis and they drink a lot and then they have some kind of a revelation or someone helps them. This is like getting over the hump. In a Hollywood drama, the scene in which someone resorts to alcohol or drugs to deal with their problem, everything will go wrong for them right after that. So there's like this puritanical message that's coming through, but it's totally culturally related. That's portrayed really differently. And now that I've pointed it out, watch out for it. You'll see it. I don't know. They probably just take it in stride. It's just part of, it's just part of the scene. They're not going crazy over it. They don't have any judgment.
Okay.
I know. I just want to say I don't know whether I'm being very ignorant about this, but maybe it's just like an obsession when you're trying to escape into a fiction, that it's just that idea of escaping to an extreme. So even like Sherlock Holmes is a cocaine addict, but that makes what makes him great. And occasionally you just want to believe in these stories where your detective is hyped up on drugs and is solving crimes,
and they get the vision from the
Dr.
drugs.
Foster is like completely unfeeling or
so
broken.
what you're saying
it's an obsession with extremes, because you either want to find someone who's more extreme than yourself, or you just want to you might be in a happy place but exploring the limits of human fragility. And that doesn't mean that you don't that it's not okay. People are still in pain, but sometimes people aren't, and they want to explore, and it's just a narrative device. But maybe that is being too naive.
So it's a kind of dramatic device. This drinking Sherlock Holmes cocaine, the visions, Inspector Morse, kind of like seeing it through the blurry eyes. I'm going to come to you in a second, Nick. I'm going to ask Kira first.
No, because we absolutely have to draw the line between a television series, and we can't look to television series as the way to live our lives. It's not because that's what's happening in a drama that's sort of what we're all supposed to be doing. That's not the model for how. And I think that's what's really important about my job.
What is your job?
So I teach at a university, and I would say to my students, you need to look at what you're looking at and think, no, that's not, we don't all have to do that. Yeah. We have to question what we're seeing and say, no, we don't have to all just drink wine. Even though I do drink wine.
That's one's choice. So whatever makes you comfortable in life, and take the pressures away and not worry about what everyone is perceiving of yourself.
I mean, do you drink wine because you see it on TV, or are there other reasons?
Never to do with TV.
Okay.
Just a life passion.
Okay. George, you had your hand up?
If you've been affected by issues in this episode, then please ring this number.
Okay, we should have some numbers to ring actually at the end of this session.
To this lady's point, I absolutely love Sherlock Holmes, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch in that. It might have been up. Sorry, I was in the toilet. But I think Benedict Cumberbatch, he's amazing in that role, and I definitely would not want my life to be without Benedict Cumberbatch in that role as Sherlock. My kind of point is, say it's a seesaw, it's like this, and it wouldn't harm to be some TV shows where there's a Sherlock type character that maybe is clean living and just, I don't know.
Your Midsummer
Murders. Yeah, but just like a little bit of balance. Like,
would it work dramatically?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, that's all that the narrative is, and you know, around this table, we're a little bit more educated that we do need to look outside the box of a TV show. But equally, like, there's people that's all they do. They go to work, they come home, they watch TV. They
go,
don't know to
I've
read
got
books.
a problem, I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine.
And I'm not even saying like a glass of wine like is a problem. I'm just saying that to most people that is, you know, I've definitely got friends that their life is get up, go to work, go home, watch their favourite TV show, and around this table we're maybe a little bit privileged in that we do know to kind of whatever the word is.
Decompartmentalise.
Thank you.
I think
that isn't real life, but my only point was back to our point about money, that it seems that society is set up to make us fail. I feel that TV and films are maybe set up to make us fail in that there isn't really much narrative as actually you can deal with a bad situation. Like look at like all the films like Hangover or all of these films, it's like go out and get trashed to deal with a bad situation, which are great. And I mean I work for a brewery, like don't get me wrong, like I am, you know, I'm not saying that's not the right answer, I'm just saying it shouldn't be the only narrative, and that's not the only narrative that I see. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Stacia?
Yeah, so back to George's earlier point about the soaps. I just have to give a ringing endorsement of the British soaps, because this whole thing of giving the little lessons, it's so beautiful, and it's really, mass media is so very influential, and I feel like the BBC especially, and the others have kind of followed suit, have an actual stated mission to use the public airwaves to do something positive and to actually have an educational arm of what they're doing. And that's not true everywhere. It's certainly not true in America. Even any, you know, teen-oriented thing like Coronation Street here would just be social anxiety and shopping. In the US, you know, there's nothing like that. And they might be a little bit simplistic, but there's something very powerful about the sort of fable structure or fairy tale structure to it.
Although I would like to thank America for Endgame, which I saw the other night, and it's one of the most fantastic films I've ever seen.
Okay, I kind of feel like we're kind of coming to the end of this, and I need a wee-wee, but maybe it's just time to get some final thoughts. The thing that is in my mind is it the kind of dramatic structure itself, the structure of the film, the drama, that has to have these extremes that, you know, like if Game of Thrones, everyone just sat around a table and just worked it out, and like formed an anarcho-syndicalist state, would it be entertaining? These are some of my questions, but it's not about my questions, it's about your questions. But it's maybe time to sort of like come to the end.
So final thought would be, actually this is doing all of that, because here we are having a discussion. So most importantly, we don't need soap operas, but they do give a thought or a connection with people who just sofa and just go home and watch TV, and then they need some sort of instruction, unfortunately, as opposed to finding it themselves in this situation.
Okay, so there is a place for the soap piece. Final thought, George? Shall I come back to you?
Yeah, please. I'm not quite sure right now.
Okay, final thought?
I'm a big believer in TV and comedy. I think it can get people through some really hard times. And I think if you can have some beautiful writing, whether that's highbrow or lowbrow, then it can really speak to people who maybe can't speak to other people.
Okay, final thought?
Watching drama is very powerful, but living it is even more so.
Final thought?
I think all forms of narrative are really important to us, and I think we should cherish that possibility for ourselves. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? Like talking about kind of drinking what we're drinking and how that, and seeing how it's not a very good idea, but at the same time how it kind of triggers really interesting conversations, and I'm very grateful to really interesting conversations, and you've been great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks to everyone for.
And this reminds me, there was an advert for British Telecom a long time ago with Stephen Hawking, and he said all we need to do is keep talking. And I think activities such as Talkaoke are exactly in that vein. And also, as in, if anything else, like soap operas or whatever, get people to keep talking rather than doing bad things, then that is a good thing.
Final thought, Asha?
Nice to meet you, everybody, you tonight.
Who built this table? Well, hang on. Let's just have a round of applause for everyone around the table. Those present, those outside smoking cigarettes or whatever other vices they might choose to follow. Let's have just a round of applause for Rick. Has spent the last 13, 14 years of his life being forced to watch this endless conjecture even. And also update social media at the same time.
Fabulous job.
Does a fantastic job, yes. Talkaoke table, this is 7.0, 7.1, all manufactured in Budapest, designed by the people speak in Aberfeldy Street. And yeah, there we go, that's the answer to the question.
I'm really sorry. Isabel was sorry. No, I didn't hear.
No, we make the tables basically, although they're actually manufactured in the surface. This bit is made in Canning Town. This bit is made in Poplar. This bit is made in Budapest.
They're brilliant. I think it's a really lovely thing.
And this bit is made in Dalston.
I do think it's a lovely thing. Brilliant.
Yeah, it is on wheels, and we're going to wheel out of this.
Are there 6 minutes or 20?
There are, plenty of other Talkaoke tables, around. There's one in the Science Museum, there's one up north in a place called Pendle near Burnley. There's one in Basildon, there's one in Ravensbourne School of Art. There's one in Tromsø in Norway. That's it, actually. There's one in my mum's garage, but that's kind of retired. So there we go.